This is a factory where robots make robots. Japan's Fanuc Limited, near Mount Fuji. It's late afternoon here, but where have all the people gone? They've gone home. The factory continues to produce, but without people. It's Kurt Vonnegut's apocalyptic vision in player piano. Machines doing most of the work, very few people. The robots are coming, the robots are coming. Not only in Japan, but on assembly lines all over the United States. And the automation and the computers and the dream of a world of tomorrow. But along with the dream, there is a nightmare. The blue-collar blues. The factories closed, jobs lost, new skills needed, a revolution in more than name, as in the Industrial Revolution, politics, economy, society forever altered, for good or bad. The Great Lakes states alone have lost almost 2 million factory jobs in the last decade. The obsolete steel mills are tumbling down on whole communities. 1,500 steelworker jobs were lost when U.S. Steel's Ambridge, Pennsylvania plant closed in April of 1984.
From Roosevelt's days when he went to power, labor, and the cost of living, everything went up beautifully. A man could live and raise a family and buy a car and buy a home. This is the first generation we're going backwards.
If you're over the age of 50, if you're over the age of 40, and you go to get a job and they'll tell you you're too old to hire and you're too young to retire.
We have to put people back to work the jobs that they've had, that their fathers had, and their grandfathers had. And these kids coming out of high school this summer, where are they going to go? They can't all fit in McDonald's and Burger King. We was expecting to leave these jobs to these kids.
This feeling that, well, so what? We'll become a service industry. That'll never work. Not, unless we all want to lower our standard of living and be a service nation. You can't just have video arcades and drive-in banks and hamburger joints. Who's going to come up with the money to go play the games or eat the hamburgers?
There isn't anybody who could ever point to one of our robots and say, that machine took my job, because that machine didn't. We've always gone to our customers and said, please, upgrade the individual.
What in the world are we going to retrain for? I can't imagine. We can't all be computer operators. What are you going to compute?
The idea that suddenly, instead of doing all the boring jobs, and there's an awful lot of routine number crunching and boring work on computers as well, and on word processors, but instead of doing that now, that we'll all sit back and be doing fascinating, interesting, responsible jobs, simply isn't true.
Well, my experience is that this type of technology doesn't liberate people at all, that in fact the reverse is the case. It controls the whole environment in which they work and operate. In the field of white-collar work, for example, there are computer-aided design systems for architects, where the architects can no longer think of all the type of architectural elements they might use, but where they're confronted almost like children with a Lego set. They can make a pleasing pattern out of a few little elements, but they can't change the elements because they're said to have been optimized.
I think the whole history of automation shows clearly that you can remove routine work and at the same time make the job that remains far more monotonous and far less interesting than the job that went before.
It seems to me that the jobs that remain, whether in the white collar or in the manual field, will be de-skilled. There'll be jobs in which the worker, whether by hand or by brain, is controlled by the machine rather than the other way round. That they'll be reduced to almost a machine appendage, simply reacting to the system rather than acting upon it. And it'll give the employers enormous control over them.
You make parts, the parts are part of what you'll never finish, what you didn't start. Machine speed, too slow, too fast. You're part of the machine as the machine goes fast. Work, shift work, overtime, work, production line, production line, production line, production